What's up? My name is Austin. I was on season 45 of Survivor, and today what I want to do is rank every single thing that I ate during my 26 days out there on the island. The other day I was kind of like thinking back at like my time on the island, and I realized that in the game, like a big part of my story was food, whether it was the fish eyes that I ate or the sandwich revenge. And because of that, I started thinking more and more about all the different types of foods that I ate. And even though like I was starving 99% of the time that I was on the island because I wasn't eating much, I actually did eat like a lot of different things. I had a lot of different eating experiences, 25 to be exact. And upon further thought, I was like, you know what? Why don't I just make a little video like where I rank every single one and tell stories about, my experience with whatever foods that I was eating or whatever it is, So that's what I'm doing here. And let's just get to it. All right. So made a little tier list here. Have a bunch of images from both the show itself, like screenshots from it, just other stuff from online. And let's rank the 25 different things that I ate during my 26 days playing Survivor. Let's freaking go. Number one, and by the way, I'm ordering all these food items by the order in which I ate them on Survivor. So the things that I'm starting with are the things that I ate day one, and it all goes all the way to after the game ended in Ponderosa, eating Ponderosa food on day 26. So very first thing, the first thing that I ate on Survivor, and probably the food item that is like most associated with Survivor, is the coconut.
Oh, okay. You're a natural.
It's sort of just like a Survivor bucket list item. Eating coconut, chopping up a coconut, opening it up, eating it. And, I went into the show hating coconut. And, not gonna lie, like when I left Survivor, like I kind of liked coconut. And for most people, it was the opposite way. But that said, I'm giving coconut a D tier ranking. And by the way, I actually have sort of labels for what this the different letters mean. So what we got here is if I rate something an S tier, that means it's one of the greatest eating experiences of my life, both including Survivor and not Survivor. Just one of the greatest eating experiences of my life. A tier is something, it's amazing. It must be both delicious and, especially or particularly beneficial to my games, whether that means it has really good nutrition or it came at a really good time where I was especially starving. And then we got the B tier, which is, good and something that I would happily eat outside of Survivor, not necessarily just being in the game where I had to eat it. I would eat it wherever, whenever, and be happy doing so. C tier is overall a net positive. So it's something that, I would be fine having it outside of Survivor, if nothing else, but just for a little bit of nostalgia. And finally, we got D tier, which is where I place this coconut. By the way, the coconut right here is taken from the intro title scene where Sifu's cutting the coconut. Anyways, D tier means that it's pretty much only something that I would eat on Survivor, but I did so happily on Survivor in order to survive. But in the real world, I'm never going to just crack open a coconut. It takes a lot of freaking work. And you know what? On my tribe, it was only me and Sifu on Reba opening up these coconuts, and it was hard work. You're just chopping on it so much with the dullest machete you've ever used. It's annoying. Finally, F tier. And I only have one thing on this thing, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's something that I will never eat again, not even on Survivor. It's just so freaking nasty. But we'll get there. Anyways, with that being said, let's move on to number 2. The second thing that I ate on Survivor is crab. Little sand crabs. And, these aren't like these big old crabs that you're getting, at like Chinese restaurants or whatever. These things are maybe like this big. They have like little tiny legs and claws, just morsels of protein, but protein nevertheless. The tough thing about it is that like you put a lot of effort trying to catch these crabs, and then you got to split it with your entire tribe. And each person gets like 1, maybe 2 tiny legs. Everyone has to take turns sharing the claws, but the legs literally are like 4 pieces of hair worth of meat. It's like nothing. But one of my favorite things about the crabs is that, in the beginning, it would be Drew and I, we would go hunt for crabs every single day. Sometimes Sifu would come, sometimes Kendra would come, but Drew and I, that was like a really, really great moment for us. And we would just bond, and we'd use that as strategy time too, because we'd be off being like, oh, we're going to go get some crab, and we'll go and catch crabs. And it was honestly one of the best memories that I have in the entire game is just catching crabs with Drew. We had some epic crab catches, and Drew is a menace with the crabs. Like, you don't expect it, but he would just full on down, bare hand, grab the crab, toss it to me. I would have like a paddle from our boat and I would smash it and smack it. And that was kind of like the team that we had, the little process of hunting crabs. Anyways, I can't spend this much time talking about each item. Crab, I'm putting it in the C tier. It has protein. It tastes a lot better than coconut, but they're just really small. And it's, if they're bigger, it'd be higher than that, but C tier. Next up, we have the earthworm.
Oh, is that a worm?
Where? Good eye. Oh.
And, as Brando said on the show,
70% protein.
It is?
30% poop.
okay, probably not higher than coconut, but maybe right afterwards. It tastes, like just knowing that you're swallowing a live earthworm, not good, but knowing that you're getting some protein makes up for it.
Am I gonna eat you?
So I had a few earthworms during my time out there. It was not my ideal pick. In fact, I'd probably pick coconut over it most of the time, but like when I was especially starving, I would have an earthworm. Okay, next up, we have 3 different variations of breadfruit. And so all the different islands on Survivor, you've got I'm going to call it based on our tribes. You have the Reba Beach, the Lulu Beach, and the Bello Beach. And each of them had different advantages and disadvantages. So when Reba Beach, which is where the merge ended up happening, we had no papaya at all. But what we did have is we found 2 total breadfruit. And the first time we found a breadfruit, I remember I was at camp and then the girls came, Jemaya, Julie, Dee, they came into camp with this green globe bumpy thing. And they're like, we found this, like, we should eat it, whatever. And we got so excited. We're like, all right, let's chop it up. We chopped it up. And, I was the guinea pig because, I eat everything. And they're like, okay, Austin, eat this. And I was like, cool. I bit into it. It's bitter. It's hard. It's nasty. It sucks kind of the liquid out of your mouth. But it wasn't coconut. It was sustenance. And I was like, I'm going to still eat this. I'm going to still eat this. And that is the raw breadfruit. It was gross, but, I still ate it anyways. So I'm going to put this actually after earthworm, a raw breadfruit, because we learned shortly after I experimented and tried it and realized it was disgusting that you're first supposed to boil it and cook the breadfruit. And then we did that. And we have next the cooked breadfruit, which honestly, biting into that was one of the happiest moments of my entire time on Survivor because it was like eating into a potato. It was delicious. And you just knew it was packed with so many nutrients and calories. And I honestly almost cried biting into it because that was the first time that I ate anything besides just coconut and worms and I guess a little tiny bit of crab. But it was like the first actual time where I felt my belly being filled with something instead of just having little drops of things come in every once in a while. So I'm actually putting a cooked breadfruit up into B tier. The only issue is after the girls found the breadfruit and we cooked it, we ate it, we had an amazing dinner together. They were like, oh, by the way, I don't remember where we found this. We don't know which tree it was. And we were just like, are you kidding me? So we spent the next 2 days, maybe 3 days, just walking the entire island trying to find wherever this breadfruit tree was. And it took days, but finally we found the tree. And unfortunately, there was only one breadfruit left that was able to be reached by us. And Sifu and I, we got this big old bamboo pole and we were knocking it down. It was super high up, came down, hit the ground. We got so excited, turned out to be black on the inside, completely rotten and disgusting. But we cooked it anyways, ate it. I still knew it had a lot of calories and nutrition. And honestly, I would probably I would put that in D tier because I would never eat it outside of Survivor, but I would put it over coconut. Just because of the extra nutrition that was in it. And it kind of looked like this, except a little bit more black. It was gross. Will not eat outside Survivor. Will happily eat it in Survivor. Okay, next up, we have the fruit reward. So on episode 3, this is where Lulu won their only challenge of the entire pre-tribe swap game.
Lulu could win it right here. And they have it. A new tribe and a new result. Lulu has broken their record of life.
Lulu won, Reba got second, and we got a little bowl of fruit, which included small bananas, and we had I think we had like an orange and we had some grapes and just like a few fruits. It was so good. We were so happy and excited, especially for J. Maya, who's vegetarian and couldn't eat the crab. And she actually would get stomach issues whenever she tried eating the breadfruit, so she couldn't even eat that either. So getting this fruit reward for her was amazing, and it tasted so freaking good. Only issue, once again, it doesn't really have much protein, but getting some sugar, getting some nice carbs and fiber and everything, it was like so good, and just like some sweetness in your mouth. This goes into the B tier even higher than the breadfruit, just because of that burst of flavor. Honestly, it had some of the best bananas, maybe the best. Yeah, it had the best banana I've ever had in my life. And I don't think I'm just saying that because I was starving. I think it was like actually just like these delicious fresh Fijian bananas. And I'm not really big into bananas. Okay, this is going a lot longer than I was expecting. Next up, we have papayas. So at the tribe swap, so this then happened, I think episode 4, I got swapped into Bello. So I went back to Bello Beach with Drew, Kendra, Brando, and Emily. And this beach, while it didn't have breadfruit, it had papaya. Only issue is that OG Bello ate all the good papayas, so all we were left were these like shitty unripe papayas. And we would cut it up when we were starving, and we had what Kendra would call papaya salad, which is just like these green shavings of papaya. You know, it wasn't good, but it had a different flavor, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan. I would probably put an unripe papaya after the earthworm because it doesn't have any, it tasted gross. It didn't have any protein. It was just sort of something that we ate for a change of flavor over coconut. So I have that there. And honestly, the papaya that we ate that was unripe was like greener than this. But yeah, that's where I have that. So another thing, though, that came from going to Bello Beach was the discovery of burnt coconut. Back at Reba, we just had plain old regular coconut, and it kind of sucked. We got bored of it. Sometimes it was like goopy and gooey if it wasn't totally ripe. And then Brando and Kendra introduced us to like charred coconut.
So crazy just having like new people at the camp.
You open up the coconut and you put it in the fire until it gets a nice burn over it, and that makes it so much better. Like it has this like popcorny flavor to it. It's like a different texture that's like way nicer to eat. It's warm. Like it was actually like a pleasant eating experience. And because of that, it deserved a spot in the C tier, probably right after crab. Doesn't have any protein in it, but it tasted significantly better than the regular coconut. So I have that there. The next thing that I ate happened during the most miserable time period on my time on Survivor, which was like sort of the days 9 through 11, which were when the hunger hit the hardest. Day 10 has got to be the most difficult day yet on Survivor.
No food.
Nothing.
I am starving, and not only that, like I have no energy.
I always wondered what it'd be like to die by starvation.
We had no food really. I mean, it looks like here that I've had a lot of food, but just like look at it. I mean, like, you know, I had maybe a total of like a third of a breadfruit because we had a split with the entire tribe. I had like a sixth of a bowl of fruit. I had little legs of crab, some pieces of coconut. Like, yeah, it looks like a lot of food here, but it's not a lot of food. And I was starving pretty much on day 10. No one could even move. Like we spent the entire time on day 10 in camp unmoving because we were so hungry.
We deserve food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken.
All you can eat sushi.
A glass of Merlot and a bowl of vegetarian chili.
Fatty chocolate. I would scrape peanut butter into it with banana. Oh.
That's when I decided to eat a sea cucumber, which was the nastiest thing that I have ever eaten in my life.
I don't think we eat it, man.
I don't think we eat it.
I think we do, man.
Do it. No!
I went out fishing. You know, I was trying to prove my worth to my tribe, the new Bello tribe. So if we ever went to tribal, I wasn't going to be in trouble. So I was like, I'm going to catch this fish. We're all starving. So I spend what little calories I have left swimming around. And, you know, I got a few little fish, but I was like, this isn't enough. And finally, I spot a few sea cucumbers. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is edible. Let's try it. I brought one back, and we had no idea how to prepare. We ended up just boiling it for like 40 minutes. It's absolutely disgusting. It looks like a piece of shit before you cook it. It looks like a piece of shit after you cook it. It tastes worse than a piece of shit. And, you know, I bit into it, and it was like biting into like this like thick rubber band that had been like marinating in the ocean for 1,000 years. It was disgusting.
Watching the intestines build out of it, it's probably the most unappetizing thing I have ever eaten. You have to get over that.
No, I'm good.
Horrible. It's the only thing on Survivor that I wasted, and I didn't finish eating the whole entire thing just because it was so freaking gross. I will never eat this ever again, even if I'm on Survivor. I don't know. Apparently it's like an Asian delicacy, and then, you know, they sell them at Chinese restaurants and Japanese restaurants for like $100. It's a scam. It's a scam. I'm sorry. My mom was disappointed in me when I told her that I tried sea cucumber and I hated it because she likes it, which I really will never understand. It's horrible. Don't do it. If you're ever playing Survivor, just take a pass on the sea cucumber. It's not even worth it. Or try it if you don't believe me. Okay. Next up, we're starting to enter merge. And the first thing that I ate, so we finished the tribe swap. Now we're coming back to the merge beach. OG Reba Beach. We're back there, and the first thing we get greeted with is by Sifu getting and preparing us this delicious fish. Because previously, the tribal council where I ended up going on the journey to find the sandwiches, and then Brando ended up having to go home. The other tribes won fish, and Reba won that challenge, and they won a huge amount of fish.
First tribe to finish.
Oh my god!
Fish! 10 fresh fish and everything you need to cook them.
And they had this one big fish that they were saving for the following day. And Sifu decided to slow cook it the entire night because they were so full. They each already had their own fish each. And they had this massive fish left. He put it in the pot. He put some salt, whatever, into it. And they put it over a low fire and just cooked it slowly for like 12 hours. And then the merge happened, and all the rest of the people came onto the beach, and they're like, shit, we have to share this now. But thankfully, they did share it, and, you know, Sifu did his little salt on top of it, and I shit you guys not, this was probably the greatest fish that I have ever eaten in my life. Yes, I was starving, but it was so juicy. It was so tender. It was seasoned perfectly. It was slow cooked for 12 hours. It was so good. I dream about this fish all the time. And you see Kendra's reaction on the show looking at that fish.
Freaking out. I'm fully freaking out.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my tongue was doing when I was eating this thing. It was so freaking good. Sifu, you are a cooking machine. That was the greatest thing, and it was so sweet of you to share it with the rest of us. Thank you. I mean, also to the rest of the Reba crew, but Sifu especially for cooking it. That was so amazing. That was the best. That was so freaking good. But it's not the best thing that I had during my time on Survivor. It's just it's the best thing that wasn't a reward that I had on Survivor. So it is an S tier item right there. Next thing is the first time that I actually had a ripe papaya, because on Lulu Beach, they had the most papayas, and they even had some ripe ones left. So during the merge, the new Lulu group, they ended up bringing back a bunch of papayas to the beach so that we could share it all at the merge. And that was the first time I tried a ripe papaya, and it was so freaking good. Very juicy and flavorful. So I'm going to put this at C tier. Probably after the burnt coconut, just because burnt coconut was something that like sustained us for many, many days. The ripe papaya was sort of just like, I had maybe like 2 ripe papayas shared amongst everyone during my entire time. But still very delicious. I'm just putting that there for now. Okay, now we enter the phase of the game where there's more rewards, more food options. If you win challenges, there's reward challenges, there's all these different things happening. There was the auction, there's the rice that comes in. So now we're entering a lot of the better foods. Right now, everything's pretty much skewed to the, around D and C and everything. Let's enter some great food experiences. And the first thing is the Merge Feast. I think this will go down as my greatest eating experience in my entire life. And spoiler alert, this is number one. This is the best thing that I had during my time on Survivor. It came at the point where I needed it the most. I was at my most hungry. I was at my most depleted. Everyone was. We wish that every single person got the merge feast, but the fact that only half of us did, I mean, I'm so glad I was in that half. It was so freaking good. They had like vegetarian lasagna. They had garlic bread. They had pizza. They had macaroons. They had cheesecake. They had soda. They had beer. They had like a meat spaghetti. It was just like everything. This huge Italian feast, and I stuffed myself to the brim. It was so freaking good.
Oh my God, butter.
I freaking love butter.
I would make love to it.
I just did not stop eating. And I actually was on this with Drew, and we went together on this merge feast, and both of us, we sat next to each other, and we just ate so much freaking food. Like when it was time for us to leave and to go back to the boat, to go back to, you know, our camp or whatever, Drew and I were still stuffing our faces, and like we left like on the verge of throwing up. And that's one thing that I learned on Survivor Rewards. My goal was to get as close to throwing up as physically possible without actually throwing up. And I pretty much got as close to that as I could. You know, one more bite of Caesar salad, I would have been yakking. And the same with Drew. Like he was like on the boat back, he was just like rocking like with his like heeled over just like this, eyes shut closed. Like I thought he wasn't gonna make it. I thought he was gonna get medevaced or something. But like we both made it back. We were so freaking full. And the entire group who went to Merge Feast were so full that we decided that we couldn't walk around and strategize with everyone else once we got back to camp. So like what we did, all of us who went on Merge Feast, which, you know, I feel really shitty about, but like we were like, if you experience the level of fullness that we did, you would understand.
I hate them.
Loserville, population 6. As they go wash off their mud, we're sitting there in the shelter like cattle, just wondering which one of us is gonna get picked next.
So we just like everyone who went on the merge feast separated on the beach and just sat down, and everyone who didn't go to the merge feast had to walk and sit next to us to talk strategy because we were too full to be able to talk strategy and walk around and do all that stuff because we were just like little whales and seals on the beach, and people had to come to talk to us to strategize. That's how full we were. Anyways, next up, I got another reward. Like, look, go me. I got on the taco reward feast that, you know, D won the poll challenge. And because of that, you know, we were able to guarantee a spot on the jury and get an amazing taco feast.
Team.
Thank you, D, for not giving up. Yeah.
We're going to tribal second.
14 days and we got food.
So in my team, whoever goes home tonight makes the jury.
And to be honest, the tacos actually tasted better than the merged feast, but there was less variety. You know, the merged feast had the entire spread of things. Taco feast was just tacos, but they were, you know, we had like chicken we could put on, mushrooms, salsa, guacamole, we had chips, we had corn, we had beans. So they had a lot of stuff we can put on the tacos, but it was just tacos. I ended up having 3 extremely loaded tacos, and then loaded nachos on top of it. It was really freaking good. I'm going to put it actually right after the merge feast. No, not before. Right after the merge feast, just because it came at a time that was a little bit less important than the merge feast. I was obviously still starving because if you think of like, you might be like, oh, you just had the merge feast like last episode. You don't need another taco feast. Like, okay, do you have one meal in 2 days? No, you have 6 meals in 2 days. Okay. I had that one merge feast, and yeah, I was like very happy with it, and I could have lasted another couple days without eating, but I was still starving. I mean, it was like one meal, and like, you know, the days before the merge feast, I never really ate much food. So like, yeah, I was ready for this taco feast. Just, I didn't need it. Like I really desperately wanted it, but I would have lived without it. But it was still really freaking delicious. I actually have it as number 2. Next up, what we have is the fish eyes.
2 giant fish eyes.
Oh my God, I can't believe he's doing this.
Here we go.
The famous fish eyes. This this is probably one of the most common questions that I get about my time on Survivor was, how did the fish eyes taste? Or like, you know, like, what was it like eating the fish eyes? And blah, 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 blah. Fish eyes, honestly, I'm going to put this in first, and then I'll explain myself. fish eyes, C tier, between the burnt coconut and the fresh papaya. And this is for one reason why, a couple reasons. The reason why it's actually, higher than what you might expect is it had protein. And I'm sure it had a load of other vitamins. I mean, like, it's an eyeball. Like, it's got to be filled with stuff, right? Like, eyeballs can do magical things. Like, you can see, it's got to have some good nutrients, at least some protein. But the actual eating experience of the eyeball was unlike anything that I've ever had before. And, like, you bite into it, and what was like the first surprise of biting into this eyeball was that like the membrane outside of it was really hard and thick. Like, piercing was difficult. I had to put like my corner tooth and just like bite into it, claw into it, and just like rip it out. Like, it was so hard to puncture. And then, not only that, but what ended up coming out with me was the iris, I think, of the fisheye. And, I never realized that irises are like extremely tough and chewy. It was not expected. And then obviously you got the goop dripping and all that stuff.
I'm good.
I ended up chewing on that for like 2 minutes until Jeff was like, there might be some like inedible cartilage in there. And I'm like, that must be what it is. I pulled it out of my mouth, these pieces of cartilage, put it down on the plate. Yeah, but the actual flavor wasn't too bad.
It's like sashimi.
It was just like the kind of like textures that were like, not really appealing, but still C tier, because as I define C tier is something that I would be willing to have outside of Survivor, if nothing but for some nostalgia. And if I had that fisheye again, you bet your ass I'm gonna be biting into that. So C tier is that fisheye. Next up, we have the pizza at that very same auction. I had it, maybe about 20 minutes later.
Pizza?
A giant slice of pepperoni pizza.
600.
And, I gotta say the pizza, like, it was great. It was loaded with pepperoni. So you know me, it had protein. I was very happy with it. I would probably rate it higher, like overall objectively, than like a Pizza Hut or a Domino's or whatever. But it's definitely no like New York pizza slice, Chicago deep dish, anything like that. But it was still really good. I was really happy to eat that. I will probably put that B tier between the fruit reward and the cooked breadfruit. After I had that pizza, I had no desire to finish the fisheye, so wasn't bad.
A little bit better than the eye.
Next up, we have on that same episode, the challenge where we earned the rice. And I just want to take this moment first off to give a huge shout out to Drew. Drew was the reason why we were able to get as much rice as we did, because as soon as Jeff started stabbing it, Drew stepped out of line and screamed at everyone to like, wake up, people, step out of this challenge so that we can get our rice. And then because of that, it happened. What we were talking about after at camp, like, when you get yelled at like that, or when you're faced with this crazy situation, you either get a fight or flight response. And Drew, he got that dog in him. Basile came out, he hit up, got that fight response. And because of that, we were able to get as much rice as possible.
What?
That's your rice. I'll sit. Somebody else. Drew is number 3. Somebody's got to go. Come on.
Even though we got a lot of rice, it pretty much accounted to like, we got like a scoop or two a day. But I mean, that was crucial. My heart goes out to season 46 who never got their rice. I don't know how I would have made it without that. The rice was probably one of my favorite points of every single day, was eating that rice, and waiting to have that rice. And we'd get a little fancy with it. We'd put a little piece of coconut in it. We'd use our leftover salt from the merge, from like the mergatory fish. Like Reba got like a little spice set with their fish. So we used some of that. On Reba Beach, they had these super hot, tiny peppers. We'd kind of put that in there. We'd put a little bit of salt water from the ocean. We got really good. And I was like the main rice cooker. Go figure. But we kind of mastered how to make rice. And honestly, I'm probably better now at making rice in a cast iron pot over a fire than I am with like a rice cooker or whatever. So I'm going to put this right after the breadfruit. Okay, so next up we have the fish that I caught on boys' night. So basically what happened here is this was after the challenge that Emily won, and she took the ladies to go for the nice Thanksgiving dinner, and they got the letters from home and whatever, and the boys were sent back home a little bit sad and hungry especially. And, you know, to get morale up, I was all like, okay, everybody, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a nice pot of rice. We're gonna put coconut in it. We're gonna get salt water. It's gonna be the best pot of rice we've ever had. And I'm gonna go fishing, and I'm gonna catch this fish so we get some protein and we get a whole meal so that these ladies aren't gonna be able to come back and stomp all over us at the next challenge.
Oh, man.
Bring home the fish.
And the only issue is before that day, I went fishing a few times and I would catch fish, but there would always be like these little tiny fish. And I knew like that wasn't going to cut it for these boys. All right. You know, and I actually spent like over 2 hours out there in the ocean swimming, expending my calories to get these fish. And finally, I was able to snag 2 large fish.
Finally, my first big catch. It was amazing. Hey, it's a Thanksgiving feast today.
Yeah, man. That's an actual fish.
Everyone got excited. They're like, wow, we're actually gonna have some meat tonight.
All right, one more.
One of them in particular was really, really good. But honestly, it just felt good to be able to catch these fish. But more than just that, I mean, like being able to feed the boys over there and make sure that we were able to stay competitive was huge. And to be able to back up my word, because I was worried I was going to not be able to find any nice fish and I'd be, you know, all talk and no bite. But the fish was delicious. I would probably put this in A tier, our first A tier item. Wow, that's crazy. You know, not as good as Sifu's slow cooked fish, but delicious, had protein, came at a really good time. So it's an A tier. Now we have actually the rest of the foods here are all like rewards or things of that nature. So next up, we have the barbecue rewards. So this is the reward where Drew won it. You know, we had to spell that little, we had to like untangle ourselves from this like big circle contraption, and we were, you know, tied to a rope, and then we had to solve this like big word puzzle thing, and I screwed up.
If it does, you're right. If it doesn't, you're not. Day 21, cognitive ability struggling.
You know, one of my more embarrassing moments, but Drew won that and he did awesome. And he took me and Jake on this delicious boys barbecue where we had brats, we had burgers, we had soda, we had like full like spread of toppings to put on the hamburgers. It was delicious, and it had, you know, once again, a ton of protein. We also got to cook it ourselves. Not gonna lie, I think I undercooked because I was like cooking some of the burgers, and like I'm pretty sure the patties and stuff were like not fully cooked, and like the sausages that we had were not fully cooked, but we ate it anyways. And that night I ended up having to like leave my shelter at night like 3 different times to take massive dumps out in the island because like my stomach was not happy. Like I would lay down and all of a sudden like I had to like shit like none other in my life, and I would get up and I'd run out and I'd go to the bathroom, and every time, like, you know, because you have a night crew watching you, and like if you're looking for idols or whatever, they have to go follow you or whatever. But like in reality, I would just go into the bathroom, but I kept going, and I was going for a long time. I wasn't just peeing, you know? So one time I was doing my business and the camera person just walked up to me and was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were," I was like, "Yeah, I told you I'm going to the bathroom. Like, come on." They're like, "Oh, sorry. Like I thought you were looking for idols or something." Anyways, it was still really, 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 really delicious. So I actually have that in A tier right there. It had, you know, the protein, it had the carbs, it had the veggies. It just gave me the shits. But yeah.
It is right on the other side. Drew wins individual immunity.
So next up, we have the charcuterie board reward. So this reward was the one where we went on a helicopter, flew in, and we had this nice charcuterie board. I won like the little like barrel rolling challenge with the slide puzzle. Delicious, you know, cheese, meats, had a nice drink, had some like pickles, had crackers. It was just like in a beautiful area. So that was really nice. So I would give that also A tier, probably after the barbecue reward, before the fish. Yes, there we go. That's for that one. Next reward, I got on a lot of rewards. I'm pretty lucky. Was the Final 5 reward. And I took Jake on this, and we got steaks, we got baked potatoes, we got carrot cake, we got wine, sweet potato, mushrooms, delicious, a lot of protein, a lot of everything that we need to fuel us for the rest of the game. Freaking delicious. Another A-tier item. I probably will put this before the barbecue because it didn't make me sick that night. Delicious. Good time. Next up, we have the final 3 breakfast. And this breakfast, oh my God, the greatest breakfast I've ever had in my entire life.
Final breakfast, man. Did you have breakfast this morning? So did I. First time in 26 days, but I'll take it. All right, let's put this somewhere.
They gave us this like vial of like pancake mix, and it was the best pancake mix I have ever had in my life. We poured it on the griddle. We made this like pancake cake because we got this little griddle to use, and we just covered the whole thing, made this like thick like rectangle of pancake, and it was freaking to die for. It was the best pancake I ever had. It came with more of our bananas that we had at the fruit reward. We also got like mimosas. We also got like bacon and a bunch of pastries and eggs. It was really delicious, and we ended up just eating it for the entire day. Like, I ate so much food. I was worried that I was gonna need to take a shit during Final Tribal Council because I ate like probably 5 pounds of food from that breakfast alone, and I didn't go to the bathroom, and I was actually really worried that it was going to be coming like it did after the barbecue reward, except on Final Tribal. And then during Final Tribal, I would have to be like, please guys, can we take 10 minutes so I can go to the bathroom? And that would not be a good look. Whatever. But best breakfast I've ever had, S tier. I'll put it right after the taco reward. Almost done. So next up, what we have is the actual, the game ended, the votes are read, and now we are at the after show. And immediately we're given champagne. And we're drinking champagne. And let me tell you, after losing Survivor, after 26 days of playing, having to transition from that to 3-hour Final Tribal Council, straight to an after show, knowing that after that it's all over, I needed a little bit of champagne to get through that and to answer everything and to be a normal human. So honestly, this is an A tier item. I would probably put this after the Boys Night Fish on the A tier because it was amazing. It was delicious and especially beneficial to my experience. So A tier it is. Also, in the after show, we were given pizza. And the pizza was good. Honestly, I would say the pizza was at a similar level to the auction pizza, but it was like less needed, because like I had all this food for the final 3 breakfasts. I knew after the after show I'd be able to order whatever I wanted at Ponderosa, so I didn't really need this, but my mind was still messed up and I was just eating nonstop. I just ate so much pizza because like after starving for 26 days, when they put any food in front of you, you're eating it like nonstop and you won't stop, even if you know that you're going to get better food later. That said, I would probably just put this at the top of C tier just because I didn't really need it. It was fine. But yeah, tasted good, whatever. Final item is the Ponderosa food. After the after show, we all got sent back home and we got to eat whatever we wanted. Except every time you eat something, you're feeling a little bit sad because you're like, wow, the game's over. Everything's done. I'm just kind of just eating and filling myself. But at the same time, like you can't stop eating and the food is really delicious. So I'll put this at the bottom of B tier. After the rice, which was much needed, higher up than the pizza that we got at the after show, I think a B tier. And you might be wondering why I use that photo. That photo is from this current season of Love Island USA, season 6. It's actually being filmed in Ponderosa, where we went after the show ended. Before it started, we went to Ponderosa, and they just it didn't look like that when we were there. They revamped it and like put all these lights and painted all the walls and all that stuff. But that's the same pool we were in, and so. That's why I used that photo. And there we have it. The 25 different things that I ate on Survivor, all ranked in a tier list. That was fun. This video is way longer than I expected it to be. I hope you all enjoyed listening to the different stories that I had. And, yeah, if you have any ideas of other videos for me to do, just let me know because this was a ton of fun. And with that, Peace out. Peace out. Looking forward to season 47. Let's go.